As I have mentioned in this space several times, I have begun driving for Uber. On Monday, I picked up a passenger on I-95. His car had run out of gas. He was rough looking, dirty, and covered with tattoos. His speech pattern and mannerisms screamed of drug abuse. He was pleasant, but I found myself constantly feeling uneasy with him sitting in my back seat. I was relieved when we went our separate ways. Here is what driving for Uber has taught me. I have become quite bougie. Not bad and bougie, just bougie. I grew up with an upper middle class refrigerator with plenty of food to eat in a lower middle class neighborhood. Growing up, my jeans had patches on top of patches. My wife and I couldn't afford furniture for the first 2 years of our marriage. So I'm not some spoiled rich kid. I grew up with humble beginnings. When I got saved, I was the first one to evangelize the gospel in the worst neighborhoods. I had no fear. I walked up to wannabe gang members and said, "You need Jesus." I was quick to volunteer for the prison ministry. I got involved in the lives of murderers, molesters, and con men. I ministered in and out of the jail with absolutely no fear. Uber has me reflecting on when my mindset changed and why. I think it's as complicated as gumbo, meaning it's a mixed bag of ingredients that brought me to this point. Part of my change comes from success. When I ministered to people on the streets in the 90s and early 2000s, to be frank, I was only a couple checks away from poverty myself. But then God began to bless me financially around 2004. Over time, though, financial success can separate you from the people that need you the most. Middle class Americans are conditioned to look at poor people like, "What do you want?" instead of like, "How can I serve?" The second thing that changed is becoming a father. I loved my wife before kids, but she has always been so strong. I always thought, if I get my head blown off, she will have a new man within a year. Daughters changed that. Yes, I'm sure Kim could still find a good stepdad, but you only have one real daddy in life. My church, my wife, my friends would move on, but my babies would be scarred forever. So now, instead of seeing ministerial opportunities, I only see risk. The third ingredient is age. I'm 44 now. I think some of my bravery as a young disciple was naivete. It's one thing academically knowing what can happen to you. It's another thing seeing it happen to others. I have attended many funerals in the last 20 years. I have ministered to a young man who was hustling drugs while attached to a colostomy bag. I had a cousin who was gravely injured and lost his wife when a psychopath randomly opened fire. As you grow older, you find yourself staying indoors more. For most events, the juice just ain't worth the squeeze. The last change is my lack of time. Don't get me wrong, I give a lot of myself as a pastor ministering to people. Church members, potential church members, old friends that I used to fellowship with, and co-workers are my circle. My godly service has become very safe and conventional. Contrary to public opinion, faith is not blind. God doesn't always want us to take these grand leaps into the abyss. Like Dr. King described, faith is like a staircase where you cannot fully see what is at the top. So God is not asking us to take blind steps of faith. However, we must be aware of our faith becoming bougie or safe. When our faith becomes too safe, it is no longer faith. It is works disguised as faith. It is the vegetables of Cain. It is the sacrifices of Saul. It becomes the praise of Korah. The priest under Joshua had to get their feet wet before the people could cross over. The Samaritan helped the man on the dangerous Jericho road. Jesus put himself in harm's way. Faith stretches you to places of uncertainty. So I ask you, has your faith gotten a little bougie or safe?